Well, hello there. I'm Anne Marie, the Forager Chick, and welcome back to the Forager Chick channel. Today I have to do something that I really should have done a couple of months ago. I had done probably, I guess it's about a year ago, I did a tincture on chicken of the woods mushrooms, and some of you may remember that. But I only did part one. So I have to do part two to show you. Although I've already strained the chicken of the woods mushroom, I have another mushroom to strain, and this is shiitake. So the technique is exactly the same thing. So let me show you how to do that. And if you've missed the first video on chicken of the woods tincture, I'm going to put it up here for you so you can look at it again and then you can watch this one. I'll be right back. All right, let's get started. So first of all, I had a fresh tincture of shiitake mushroom, and mushrooms are really good for the immune system overall. Plus, they all have a little bit of extra medicinal benefits. So with the shiitake, what the first thing I have to do is strain this. I mean, look at the tincture. You can see it's all in there. Everything's all blended really well. It's been macerating since June 30th of this year. So that's a little bit longer than I normally do my tinctures. My tinctures only usually go anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks, but don't fret because I bet you some of you have some in the cabinet that may have been in there for 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, hopefully not a year, but maybe. As long as the mushroom or herb has been covered by alcohol completely, it is okay and it's not going to go bad. Now, if you had some parts that were sticking up, and this is a reusable jar so you can't really see, but if there were some parts that were sticking up, then you have potential for them to go bad. But this one is perfectly fine, and we're going to open it. And what you need, get that open. What you need is a measuring cup so that we can see how much alcohol is being strained out. And I have to look this one up again. I believe this was a pure grain alcohol. I don't have it written on a label. Of course, I teach y'all how to write everything down. I have it down on a piece of paper, so I'm going to go look that up in a little bit later. But this one was probably most likely done with pure grain alcohol, like golden grain. And when you're using a pure grain alcohol, that is pretty much 100% alcohol. It's 190 proof, so technically it's like 95, 96% alcohol with just a little bit of water. Most of my mushroom tinctures, I do it that way because when we strain it, we're going to do the second part, which is a hot water extraction. By doing that with the pure grain alcohol as the first part, your final product is going to be 50% alcohol. Does that make sense? If it doesn't, I know there's a little bit of math involved with this. Yes, you can use vodka if you'd want to, but that one would be either 100 proof or 80 proof, depending on which one you're using. Then you're going to have to do a little bit more math because your final product, you want it at least to be 25% alcohol. If you're dealing with that 80 proof vodka, you're already taking it down to about 40% alcohol. And then when you make the hot water extraction and you mix it, you have to be really careful there because you don't want it to go below the 25%. Some herbalists do say that you could do 20%. I prefer 25%. I like my tinctures to last a really long time. So enough of my talking. We have our measuring cup. I have a fine mesh strainer, and I'm going to put a link for the stuff that I use down in the comments. Now, stay. And some fine mesh cheesecloth. This is a little bit thicker than your normal cheesecloth that you find in the grocery store. You could also use a cotton t-shirt. It's unbleached. You could use some butter muslin or just go to the fabric store and get some unbleached muslin, and that's totally fine. So we have the cheesecloth in the strainer over the measuring cup, and we take our tincture and we just pour it in there. Can you see that color? It's like a golden color. Get every last little bit out of there. Come on. There we go. And then with clean hands, we pull up the sides of our cheesecloth and we squeeze it out really, really good. There you go. You want every last bit squeezed out. Doesn't even look like there's much mushrooms left in there, does it? There really isn't. All right. Now, don't throw this away. We need to use this in the second part. Ideally, if you had some more fresh shiitake mushrooms, look at it. That's called the mark. That's what's left of it. But there's still some medicine in there, and we need to get it out with some hot water. So for now, I'm just going to plop it in the pot. Let's get back to this one. And let's see how much we have. It is 8 ounces. Look at that color. So this is the first part. The alcohol pretty much gets out all of the triterpenes, the phenol compound, anything like that. But we have to do a second part, which is hot water extraction to get out most of the polysaccharides. And then we put it together. This way you have more of a broad spectrum medicine. So we have 8 ounces here. I'm going to put that aside. We have the mark, the rest of the mushrooms there, in the pot. We have to double the amount of alcohol extract in water and put that in the pot. So we have 8 ounces of the alcohol extract. We need 16 ounces in the pot. This is a quart jar, so I'm going to use half of this. It's okay if it goes over just a little bit. A little more. Eyeball it. It's okay for this one. And now you can see, I think you can see that, the pieces just come back to life again. I don't want it to spill. You can see all the little pieces. It was just a little lump, right? So what we do now is we take this, we put it on the stove, and then we're going to bring it up to a low simmer and let it simmer until it's reduced to half. How do we know when it's half? We can guess, but we don't have to do that. See these little popsicle sticks? Stick it in there in the pot right now. Take it out, get a marker, and then where it's wet, you're going to put a line right across. Oops. Just like that. Okay? So after about 15-20 minutes, go ahead and check it. It's probably going to take 30 minutes. We're going to simmer it, but don't boil it, because if you bring it to a boil, it's going to be all gone in probably 10 minutes. Turn it on, let it simmer, and then I'll check it in about 30 minutes, and then we'll come back and I'll tell you what the next step is. Easy peasy. Be right back. Okie dokie pokey, I am back. I let the shiitakes and simmer in the water. It was about 25 minutes actually, and I got it down to halfway, and the color looks pretty close to, I don't know if you can see that. Oh, trying to show you without dumping it on the floor. You'll see when I strain it. But it got nice and dark, and you wouldn't think with that little bit of mushroom mark that was left over that you would have that much color and that much smell, medicine, all the good stuff right there in the water. So we're going to do the exact same thing that we did with the alcohol. Take our measuring cup, our strainer, our cheesecloth, and this kind of cheesecloth too, you could just wash out unless you have something really gritty, like some of the leafy type herbs. Comfrey is the worst. That one I always throw it out after I strain it because all the little pieces stick in there. Same with stinging nettle. But most of the time you can just rinse it out, throw it in the washing machine, and you can keep using them until they fall apart. So this cooled enough. I'm going to pour it in here. One thing to be sure of is that when you are making a double extract, you don't want to pour boiling water into your alcohol. Why? Any guesses? You know, it's going to make all the alcohol evaporate. So we don't want that to happen. I'm going to squish this out. Now this time, after we're done, it's a little warm. After we're done squishing this out, we can just compost it. And it's funny, squeezing it out now, you can feel it being a little bit slimy. So that's part of those polysaccharides that are in there. And some people have asked me, well, can I just do the alcohol tincture? You can. Yes, you can. But you get more of the medicine if you're going to do the hot water extraction too. Another person asked, it was a question on the first video, well, why can't I just use vodka since if you use 100 proof vodka, it's 50% alcohol and 50% water. Yes, you are correct. It has the water, it has the alcohol, but it's the heat that actually draws out those polysaccharides. So we want everything. So you don't just have the triterpenes like I mentioned before, you have the polysaccharides. This way it's a broad spectrum medicine for you to cover your entire immune system. And shiitake, by the way, is really good for not just your immune system, but your circulatory system. It's good for lowering cholesterol as well. And most cultivated mushrooms, most wild mushrooms, they're going to be really good for your immune system because what they do is they help activate those natural killer cells to attack any invaders that are in your body. So any bacteria, any cancer cells, anything that's going on in your body, it's going to help attack them and make your body work a little bit better. So does that sound good? All right, so this last little bit of our mushroom mark, you can see it now, that's going to go in the compost. It still smells really good. So let's see how close we were to it. I have about 9.5 ounces, but it's okay. Well, it's not going to all fit in here anyway because I have exactly 8 ounces in this 16-ounce jar. So we're just going to pour it into the top. And I did look it up, this one was done with the Everclear, the pure grain alcohol, so I don't have to worry about diluting it too much because I really can't. I would have to double this amount in order to dilute it too much. So I'm going to see how much is going to fit in there. Whatever's left of it, I can just drink it. There we go. Get it all in there. See, there's about maybe an ounce left. So on this one, we put it together, put the lid on, put it together, mix it together. That color, gorgeous. So no matter what kind of mushroom you are doing your tincture with, whether it be chicken of the woods, lion's mane, turkey tail, reishi, the gosh, you could do all of them, or shiitake, the method is exactly the same. And what the method that I use is called a weight to volume. It's 1 part of your mushroom to 5 parts of your alcohol. So basically that is 1 ounce by weight of the mushroom to 5 ounces of volume of alcohol. So this particular shiitake tincture was something like, in order to get it to be 8 ounces, I think it was like 1.7 ounces of shiitake. Times that by 5 and you get somewhere around 8 ounces. You always want to measure it. Now, you don't have to do it that way. That's the way I learned how to do it. You could do what's called the folk tincture, which basically you're putting your mushrooms in your jar and you're going to cover it by about 1 inch with alcohol. That is fine to do it. But I try to do it the way that I learned. And this way, my tincture is got the same type of medicine, the same amount of medicine per dropper as what you would buy on the shelf. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense to you. There was something I was going to tell you about this. I'll think of it in a minute. Anyway, once we do all this part, now remember that lid, I washed that lid off. It still says shiitake, June 30th, 2024. 50%. Guess what? I just realized something. Since I wrote that on the label, on the lid, that means this tincture was done with vodka and not pure grain alcohol. That's what I get for not writing it down on the paper to begin with. My mistake. Don't do what I did. So now it's still fine. It's totally fine because we did equal parts. The entire tincture is now 25% alcohol. Gosh, I hope that makes sense and I didn't just confuse the heck out of all of you. I will put that down in the description as well so you understand all that because, hey, we all make mistakes. It's not a mistake. I just said what it was different, but it is actually 50%. So now it's 25%. Gosh, that's a lot of math. I hate math. Who hates math? I hate math. Last thing we got to do, and I'll have to change this on my label, is make a label. Label everything. This way you know what you made. Because are you going to remember what this is? Like next month? It's not going to stay in this jar anyway. I'm going to put it in an amber jar because you should put all of your tinctures in a dark amber jar and then put it on the shelf. This way the light doesn't get in and degrade it. The tincture will last up to 10 years. That's a long time. So on my label I wrote shiitake tincture, double extract, 1 to 5, which means I had 1 part, like I told you, 1 part of by weight of shiitake and 5 times by volume of the alcohol. Now I'm going to cross off my 50% because that is not correct anymore. It is 25%. And I put today's date. Now you're probably also thinking, why do I need the date? I'm sure I'll use it up within 10 years. Believe it or not, I just found some tinctures on my shelf that are nearing 10 years now. That's about when I started all this. So I've shared some with people and given some away. I'm not going to use them up, so I'll get rid of them. There wasn't that many, maybe about 3 or 4. There's our tincture, shiitake tincture. I hope you liked this video. If you would, please leave me a comment down below and share this with a friend. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Y'all have a beautiful day. Bye now.